Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the It Doesn't Matter podcast. We have myself, John Strapfax, but for today, Lord Humongous. And of course, always on the show, we've got.
We got the Dominican Dream, baby. This is Papi Platano. Also, the ruler of the world.
There he is. And returning as our guest of the week, we've got.
BDC. Am I justice or am I vicious?
I guess we'll find out later tonight. And of course, we've got the host of the show, we've got.
I am the notorious one. I am Dom. Boom.
Of course, we're talking about the late, great favorite of the It Doesn't Matter podcast. It goes by many names. We're talking about Sid Beauty, Sid Justice, Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid. We're talking about the man himself, and we affectionately, lovingly call him the Big Dummy. Yeah. Psycho Sid, he passed away a few days ago, and we're going to dedicate the show to talk about his memories, all his matches and moments, and him as a wrestler, as a person, as a promo. So, Dom, what have we got going on with Big Psycho Sid?
Yes, just like you said, we are big fans of the Big Dummy. We acknowledge him so many times on the show, so I had to call the audible, and I feel like it was the right thing to do. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with my man Strap Facts. What is your favorite moment of Sid or your favorite match of his?
Well, if I would separate the two. So let's see. I mean, Psycho Sid, right there. I mean, he was there when I started watching wrestling in December '95. He's part of the $1 Million Corporation, and he was just there. I kind of recognize him from the earlier golden era. When Hogan and Savage and all those guys were around. I mean, they just disappeared. And then the summer of '96, it was a big deal. The international incident. It was Team Shawn Michaels with Ahmed Johnson and the Ultimate Warrior facing off against Camp Cornette, the Bulldog, Owen, and Vader, the man they call Vader. And, of course, it's on Monday Night Raw, the 1-hour show Monday Night Raw. The Ultimate Warrior is in the middle of a match against the King of Hearts, Owen Hart. And as he's in the ring having a match with Owen Hart, they have a sidebar with Gorilla Monsoon saying, "You're fired." And you want to talk about something being a little meta? That's something meta. But anyway, later on, they did an inset from Titan Studios and Shawn Michaels and Ahmed Johnson. Ahmed Johnson was kind of like, Ahmed Johnson, another favorite artist. He was standing like that for some reason. He was the Intercontinental Champion. He was like real tall, real tall, like. And the reason why, he was trying to hide the Psycho Sid behind him, because Shawn Michaels like, all right, well, Warrior can't make it to the 6-man tag pay-per-view. Well, we've got a surprise. I actually don't remember the promo that well, but he announces, and then Sid comes around. And he's like, that's right, Camp Cornette, blah, blah, blah. So for a moment of memory, I would choose that. That was a very significant, even though I just said I didn't remember the promo. I remember the moment of Sid being revealed as the replacement for the Ultimate Warrior for the international incident. And as for a match, he did have 2 matches with Shawn Michaels. The Survivor Series, the very famous one, the one that he won, and the one that was probably the highlight of his career. But I'll choose the rematch with him and Shawn Michaels at Royal Rumble '97, where Shawn won the belt back. It was just a bigger atmosphere. It was in the Alamo Dome, so I would choose that as my favorite Psycho Sid match. Rumble '97.
That's a classic right there. What about you, BDC?
Well, my favorite has to do with this title. It was his go round with Taker when Taker claimed his title for the second time. WrestleMania. And at the time, of course, I'm a huge Undertaker fan. So at the time, I wanted to see him win. So all the nostalgia was seeing him come back in the black and gray in the original Undertaker garb. It was only later when I rewatched the match where I realized, damn, Sid is actually really, really good. It's like, he was really, really good. It's not the easiest thing to be a big guy and wrestle another big guy and make the match look decent. The match didn't look like it wasn't a 5-star match by any stretch of the imagination, but it didn't look like it was just two big oafs lumbering around the ring. It was actually a pretty decent match. So that, for my own reasons, that is my favorite moment as far as Sid is concerned, and my favorite match, even though he didn't win it. But it was just at that moment, I really realized like how good he was because he was in there with another big dude, and it actually looked really good to me. So that would be the match that I have for him.
All right, Poppy Platino, what about you?
Well, for moment, I gotta go with the classic. You are half the man that I am, and I have half the brain that you do. Wait, let me do it again.
You can wear any Halloween costume you want to, but you know and I know that you're only half the man that I am. And I have half the brain that you do.
I'll never get old.
Yeah. He tried so hard.
Never get old.
Yeah. I love this so much.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
We joke around with a lot of the mistakes he did, but man, this guy was completely over, man. A hell of a character, multi-time
No matter
champion.
what.
Yes, main event, no matter where you put him, any show. I mean, like I said, like 4 or 5-time champion. Where can you go wrong with him? Yeah, he had his mistakes, and everyone's had their demons, but the guy was over, and he's always been in my heart as one of the guys that should have been in the Hall of Fame before his unfortunate passing. But for me, I gotta go with one he had with Brett. It was Brett. Always be one of the guys that I'll always say is the GOAT. But man, just to show another level of Sid that you don't really get to see. Sid, man. I obviously we think Brett probably brought it out of him, but Sid always had an athleticism that we didn't really get to see on a lot of things. And like you said, BDC, with that match he had with Taker, it made you really rethink about this guy and his commitment to the business.
Right.
What about you, Dom?
Well, for me, I love all the blunders. I love the promos, how he start real low and you gotta listen to what he's saying. Then he just gets loud and he gets intense. But I loved all that.
Yeah.
But I love my technical wrestling, so I'm a big fan of the Bret Harts, the Shawn Michaels, and the Chris Benoit's. But his match with Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series in Madison Square Garden when he was supposed to be the heel and they was cheering for him.
Who's the man? Yeah, he knew it.
That was cool. That was cool. And Shawn just sold. So it just everything just flowed well for Sid that night, and he had his due right there. So I'm happy for him at that time.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. So Sid was a unique big man. Like, what do you think that made him like one of the big men? Because I think that he was a better big man than Kevin Nash, personally.
Oh yeah.
I think that.
Oh, yeah.
I think like it was his aura. Like it was his eyes, the way he would look around and give you that menacing look, and you don't know if he's actually going to snap or not. Like everything just suit him.
Yeah, like
I mean,
not your traditional big man.
I mean, you look at him physically. This dude, basically, if you took a guy that was like 6'4", 6'5" with his physique, you're like, oh, he's cut from granite. This dude is an Adonis. This dude's like 6'10", 6'11", looking like that. The body fat had to be single digits. This dude
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
You
Yep.
see his
And
trap?
Yeah.
yeah. But,
Why
I
do
mean,
you think I'm showing him right now? I'm trying to.
why do you think I'm not? But I mean, and literally, like his face was as big a part of his gimmick as anything else because you never knew when he was looking at you, you never knew which way the wind was going to blow with him. You just never knew. He could be on your side or he could be ready to snap your neck, and you would never like his poker face was something else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had it all. He had it all, literally, especially for his size. He had it all.
Yeah.
Outside of the whole blunder thing.
I think even Kevin Nash would tell you, in his own words, Sid looked like $1 million.
Yes.
And he did.
Yep.
Kevin Nash did not have the physique he did, except when he was filming Magic Mike XXL. But yeah, no, physically, yes, Sid Vicious was freaking. I mean, I don't know if he was a bodybuilder by hobby or by trade earlier in his career, but he looked the part for sure. Yeah. And you know, that's kind of like the majority of the wrestlers back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, early 90s is that, you know, they didn't grow up as fans. They were just, but you know, they were at the gym. They were discovered. You know, they didn't have a love for this stuff. And they came in and, yeah, they'll stumble and maybe their work isn't as tight or as perfect as you would want it to be. But they did a sufficient job. They did a good job. And they made a lot of money doing it. And they made a lot of memories. And a lot of guys like that, your Sid, your Hogan, your Warrior, Sting, you know, they didn't love this business, but just because you don't love it doesn't mean you can't be successful at it. And Sid was kind of
exactly
the epitome of that. Yeah. You know, so, and he would just, you know, for better or for worse, he would just float in and out of the industry, kind of like the whole thing was the territory. He would never stay in one place for too long. I mean, by the time he got sick of him, he was already gone. So, good for him, and I presume, you know, he made a good money at it, and probably from his WCW run, he probably made a lot of good money from it. But then, he kind of just disappeared off the scene, out of sight, out of mind, and you know, WWE has been showing that clip of his last match, his last appearance in WWE versus Heath Slater on Raw.
I don't know why I don't remember that for some reason.
It's one of them Raw reunions, whatever.
Yeah, it was basically it was a lead up. It was a lead up. I think it was to Raw 1000. When he was wrestling, he wrestled a series of legends for several weeks, and it ended off with him wrestling Lita at Raw 1000, and he took the clothesline from hell from JBL. And all of the legends, like he tried to run when the APA gets out there. He tries to run, and all the legends that he wrestled chased him back into the ring, and he caught that fade in the ring.
You know, I mean, I can't remember all of them, but you know, Heath Slater, he kind of fed into it because he said, "Baby, I'm the ruler of the world." And that just reminded me of something else, like those kind of promos where it's so obvious what's happening next. You know, like it was really funny, entertaining, but I mean, a little off topic here, but to me, the best one ever of that kind of promo was Elias. And it was like, you know, after WrestleMania, one of those years, and he, you know, Elias, not Dom's kid there, but he's in the ring. He's in the ring. He's like, the next person that interrupts me is a dead man. Dong. That's the best one.
Sure did.
Yep.
Oh my God. Off topic, but you know.
That was good though.
Has anyone met Sid?
No, I didn't meet him.
No.
He was always on my bucket list of guys I wanted to meet, and unfortunately, I missed that opportunity. I've mentioned it so many times in the podcast, from the beginning till right now. he had an interview recently where Vince was recently released from his duties, and he said the time is now for him to. He shouldn't have had this issues with Vince, regardless if you like the man or not. Man, just you've let a lot of other people in your Hall of Fame that, in fans' eyes, should have waited a little bit longer.
Right.
I mean, John said it many times. Sid Vicious, 2-time main eventer. Take that, Phil Brooks.
Phil Brooks, 0 times WrestleMania main eventer.
Oh, we're not gonna get his interview.
I think with Sid and Vince McMahon,
Absolutely
I would
not.
say that Vince McMahon, he will put aside all issues to make some money. And what does that say? Does that say that at one time Sid Vicious was money throughout the 90s up into the early 2000s? Everyone saw him like Sid is money.
Yeah.
At a certain point, someone looking at Sid Vicious says, "There's no money there." Vince McMahon would probably, he saw Warrior, maybe Ultimate Warrior. It's like, he's still got some juice in there. People still like Warrior. Sid, it's like he was there. He was big in 90, that Survivor Series at that Madison Square Garden. But his legacy, it wasn't, we obviously we love him, but his legacy wasn't that great in the grand scheme of WWE. They never brought him up again.
No.
They barely acknowledged him.
Yep.
So Vince was probably like, we're not going to put him in the Hall of Fame because no one remembers him.
Well, I think him shattering his leg like he did probably had a lot to do with it because you couldn't use him as a wrestler anymore.
Yeah.
He didn't even want to do that.
You couldn't.
No.
Yeah, you couldn't bring him in. And that, I think how they brought him back in Raw in the weeks leading up to Raw 1000 was cool. Kind of bringing him back to reintroduce him to fans that didn't know who he was beforehand, and as a nod to the people who did. It would have been cool to find other ways to bring him back in, but that was pretty much a one-off. He was and then he was gone again. So, I think he should have definitely gone into the Hall well before now. I think I'm thinking probably mid 2010s he should have been put in, but that's
You
just
would
me.
think after that Raw when he took out Heath Slater, okay, maybe shortly after that. He should have had
Absolutely.
because the crowd popped for him when he showed up. So and that was a big deal because I think he wrestled DDP, he wrestled Doink. He wrestled several legends, but he got the biggest pop out of all of them.
Yeah.
And that says a lot. So it would have been a nice touch to put him in the Hall of Fame that year, but he didn't even need to be the main attraction. He could have very easily been a secondary star on any one of those Hall of Fame ceremonies. So it just sucks that he's gonna go in, and he's gonna go in posthumously, and it's got to be somebody from his family inducting him in instead of him when you had him up until 2 days ago.
Yes.
just like Vader, same thing.
Yep.
Just like Vader.
Everybody, who was it? Mick Foley kept saying, "It's time. Put Leon in. Put Leon in." Next, you know, Leon passes away.
They had Leon
then
under
you put him
contract
in.
for a couple years too. They didn't. They waited for some reason. It's like it's gonna probably be the same thing with Cornette. They're not gonna put him in until he's underground because they don't want that mouth on the microphone. But I'm pretty sure Cornette is classy enough to, you know that. He's classy enough to know what to say and what not to say for that. It's the Hall of Fame. He should get recognized, especially with the Midnights.
I thought it was I thought it was really a changing of the guard when Warrior came back and Warrior was inducted. I thought, okay, if you could bring this guy back after all the hell that the two of them have had and the history that they had, if you could bring Warrior back and bring him into the Hall of Fame, then pretty much the gloves is off anybody's. The door is wide open now for anybody to come back. And
hey, look at Jeff Jarrett, same thing.
Jeff Jarrett caught me off guard too.
Yeah, they even gave him a job.
Yep.
Yep.
Had a job. He referee I think a tag match at SummerSlam in Nashville. Then they fired him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now he's
Poof.
the outlaw in AEW.
Yeah.
Is that right, John?
It's a conditional firing. I don't know why did they do that again? I have no idea.
I don't know. It does.
Budget cuts.
Your guess is better than mine. Vince and his
After the
budget
pandemic.
cuts.
Is that after the pandemic or before it?
I want to say
That was
after.
after. That was after.
After.
Whatever.
That was a good weekend from that Nashville weekend because
Oh yeah, Ric Flair's last match.
which I went to. Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Yeah, I
repped
think,
this night before and then he wrestled.
It was
That's
fucking Nick Khan. He was on a firing spree at that time. I remember now. Yeah, they just got rid of a bunch of people,
Yeah.
including all of NXT.
Yeah,
So,
Basically.
that was crazy.
All right. So Platino, question for you:
What's up?
who do you think is the modern day Psycho Sid Vicious?
I honestly can't tell you if there is one right now. I have not seen anyone 6'10", 6'11" with that type of body, with that kind of intensity or that aura. I
Yep.
would say maybe if he ever gets pushed properly in AEW would be Big Bill. He'd be the closest thing because he's got somewhat of a body, kind of like
You got the stature,
Sid.
yeah.
He's got the stature. He doesn't have the same exact cut, but for me, it'd have to be Big Bill. I think he just needs to turn that intensity up just a little bit, and AEW needs to let him be the big man. He's athletic enough. He can do a lot of stuff. He's a former basketball player too, so I would roll the ball with him and see where you can go because he's got a lot of potential. He's still very young too. He's close to our age, if not maybe younger. So that'd be the closest guy right
he
now.
ain't young then. He ain't young.
Young enough.
You guys agree? Do you think Big Bill's the modern day Sid?
I mean, body type wise, I would say yes. I would say as a whole or overall gimmick, I don't think so. I still kind of see him as soft and a goofball in a way. So he would have to take a lot of time to kind of work that off before I could see him playing that role convincingly.
Yeah.
He's been showing a little bit of a dark side from what I've seen. It's just he just haven't put it all together just yet.
Yeah. I would say somebody who I think has the mental aspect of it down a little bit, even though he doesn't talk much, and right now he's in a position where he's not really going to be able to show that part of himself for right now, was Dexter Lumis. That dude creeped me the hell out before he's gone into his Mercy the Buzzard stage. I think that he could absolutely fill that role. We just haven't heard him really talk to know if he has the promo cutting ability to make that gimmick stand out. But I think as far as mental makeup, I think he actually has that. Where he could be believable, where he could just basically go at any time. That's who I would think. I think other guys that would be close, I don't think they have the I don't think they have the aura that Sid had. Where you could literally you see him coming and you just feel like, oh shit, as soon as you see him, because you just never know with him. But that's pretty much it for me.
John, what about you?
Well, ripping right off Platino's idea of Big Bill, that's where exactly I was headed to, because he does have the physique. I mean, in AEW, has he gotten away from the soft gimmick? Then yeah, he has.
Yes.
He spent some time in TNA, the old new TNA Impact Wrestling, whatever, as W. Morrissey. So
Yeah,
W. Morrissey.
I'm
His
double.
His real name.
and then he came to AEW, and he just became Big Bill, and he was a very popular act this past weekend in Europe, and I mean it's just one of those. It reminds I'll tell you what, that reminds me exactly of that Survivor Series '96 where the fans just took it over, and they're like, we're just gonna love this guy for right now.
Yep.
You know what? In '96, we're gonna love Sid today. You know what? In 2024, we're gonna love Big Bill today. And if Tony Khan wants to go with that, he might. I don't think he's going to, but he could just go with Big Bill, break him off from the learning tree gimmick right now, and see where it goes. Like I said, he already showed that heel potential as W. Morrissey. As for the aura of Psycho Sid, I mean, it's tough to say because we know how it turned out. But if you just think about those early days, Sid Justice, Lord Humongous, the with his team with the Dan Spivey, the Skyscrapers.
Yep.
Yeah, man. You just look at Sid, you're like, well, this guy, man, look at this guy. Does any wrestler bring that up nowadays? I think for grizzled old veterans, fans like ourselves, like we don't see wrestling that way anymore because we're not kids. So you'd have to ask someone younger and say, "Hey, man, who do you think kind of spooks you a bit?" And it's like, it's tough to say. The only other person I can think of that stature is like Omos, and it's like, he's a big dude, but he don't have that aura.
Nah, he doesn't.
Yeah, he don't.
Nah,
And
not in WWE.
And that's a shame because if he did,
he'd be Andre the Giant, like, honestly.
He'd literally be he'd be a nightmare if he had that aura with him.
Yeah.
Nigerian Nightmare.
And would mean
American
every
nightmare.
single word of it.
Mind.
Yeah, he'd get destroyed.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the modern day Sid, I think with the right booking and the way he's rolling through people right now, I have to say Bronson Reed. He might not have the look, he might not have the height, but he got the intensity.
Yeah.
And he's on point right now. He's on one right now.
Yeah.
His matches might not be impressive. Sid's matches weren't impressive, but he'll take you out in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That's what Bronson's doing right now. He's making a name by taking out all these veterans. He's making a name by, the match wasn't good in Providence. I was there when he fought Braun Strowman. But my mind is, how the hell are you going to take him out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't feel his hands.
Yeah.
I can't feel my fingers.
Challenge him to a
Well,
race.
that promo he cut on the Miz though. That was a pretty decent promo.
You felt that,
was
right?
a pretty decent.
You felt that. After I get done with him, I'm gonna come back. I'm coming to you
and come back to you. Yep, I'm gonna come back to you. You keep bringing all these people and getting all these people involved. So as soon as I handle them, I'm coming back to you.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that right there. That's
you know what?
There.
Now that you mentioned Braun Strowman, could he possibly be the closest thing to a Sid Vicious, where he has that intense look to him every now and then? He's shown a vicious streak against Roman Reigns during their rivalry. He's a big
only when he's not done with you.
Yeah.
When he's not done with you, it's a whole problem.
I just think looking at that, he'd probably be the closest thing, just because he's got a different aura to him. But it's gone down a lot also. So
yeah, that's just booking, man. They're not booking him well. Like he was that monster. Just go out there, rip your shirt, whoop ass, and be out. That's it.
I tend to think at some point he's going to get tied back into the Wyatt Six.
Yeah. Something's gonna happen with that.
He's made it a point. He's made it a point to discuss about how he's currently avoiding them because he's afraid of the monster he would become. I do think somewhere down the line he ties back into them, and when that happens, yeah, he's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
He's going to be a problem.
But is he gonna be the master and the ruler of the world?
Not at all.
Nope.
Not at all. Not at all.
Know that you can bring the heavy offense, but there are a lot of skeptics that think that perhaps you can't take it, that you can't take the punishment that Diesel will give you tonight. How do you address those skeptics?
Well, the skeptics and all the people have a little bit of... Let me do this again.
Oh, it's live, pal.
Sorry.
Got a question. Know that you can bring the
Oh, pal.
It's live, pal.
It's another one. Never gets old.
All right, John. So you were talking about legacy earlier in the show, but how do you think Sid's legacy will continue to influence the future of the generation of wrestlers right now? Do you think anybody's gonna pick up now that he passed away and carry it on? We've seen Damian Priest say, "I'm the ruler of the world" and whatnot. Do you think anybody's gonna take from him?
Just a little bit right there shows that how Damian Priest is a student of the business, and he deserves what he gets in a good way. Mm-hmm. And it's a situation for him where, just as we were recording this show, I was watching AEW Dynamite, and Swerve Strickland came out after having just lost the AEW World Title this past weekend. Would he become a bigger star having lost the title, like Damian Priest has become a bigger star losing the world title, some time ago? We'll see. The jury's still out on Swerve Strickland, but for Damian Priest, dropping the title, they needed that to happen so they could push him more.
Right.
But anyway, he's a student of the business. He was around the era of Razor Ramon, Sid, the 94, the new generation. So that's the generation he was a part of. Sid was right before that and a little bit during it too. But anyway, the legacy of Sid to today's modern superstars, what exactly can they take away? His promo style? They can't copy his style.
No.
Maybe that, what's it? The fat guy from NXT can copy his style, the one that's in the Wyatt Six. He could do it.
Joe Gacy?
Gacy.
Yeah, Joe Gacy, yeah. He could probably do it and no one would notice, and it would probably fit in with the gimmick probably really well.
Yeah.
As for in-ring moves, what do you got? The choke slam? Who doesn't do the choke slam? Damian Priest does a version of the that move.
Yep.
Question.
And yeah.
Hold on. Does anybody do power bombs anymore? When's the last time you seen a power bomb?
Kevin Owens is the last person.
Well, the pop-up power bomb. I'm talking about traditional Kevin Nash, Psycho Sid power bomb. You see that anymore?
Like Diesel, yeah. It used to be such a vicious maneuver. The move of the 90s.
Well, if you see it, it's more of a setup move than a finisher now.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that.
It's kind of like they've evolved.
Yeah, it's more of a. Yeah, you'll see it as a setup move. You won't see it as a finisher much anymore.
Like a
but how many guys? Oh Jesus! Tired of seeing it. That was the most beautiful move back in the day. Now it's
a close.
Everybody do it.
Dustin.
It's just like Godfather. Oh, what are they doing to my boy? No.
He has such love for the power bomb.
It's one of those moves. Like you said, you don't see it anymore. And how many big guys? Why aren't you using that move? If no one's using it, bring it back. Batista bomb. No, that's not a power bomb. It's a power bomb, but not the same. The Last Ride, you're not going to see Undertaker ever back in the ring. I hope not.
No.
Please just.
No one's going to try that anymore.
So it's a move that, if it's a really big guy and athletic enough, he can use it for a finisher, and let's not be a whole spot anymore. I think. Please
you don't even see nobody doing Sid's the big forearm he doing. You don't see nobody doing that.
The club.
The club. You don't see
Sheamus.
Yeah.
Sheamus does it in the
the beats of the bow.
I'm just talking about he have you in an abdominal stretch or something like that, and he just pounding on you like that.
It's an old way of wrestling back in the day too. So it's like that '90s wrestling where they don't wrestle like that anymore. It's more technically sound, and you don't see that slow pace unless you're like in the main event and you're completely over, like a Roman Reigns or a John Cena. So moves like that for like a mid card guy, it's probably not going to get them too far unless they're truly over. So don't expect that.
My buddy that used to watch, we grew up watching wrestling in '96 and '97, and through the Attitude Era, and then he got out of it. He doesn't watch it anymore, but he'd watch it with me, and we'd see Shawn Michaels wrestling, and because Shawn Michaels came back, and he's like, oh man, I love Shawn Michaels. He's such an old school wrestler, doing the atomic drop.
Yeah,
it's like just the visual of seeing him do that move was like, wrestlers don't do that anymore. The atomic drop. So in the same token, a jackknife powerbomb, a Sid Vicious Vader style powerbomb is just old, and they don't do that anymore. So that's probably why they've moved on from it, and that's why it is a setup move. And it's just the evolution of the business. Really.
You don't see anymore. The Rock's wraparound DDT.
No one does that.
Yeah,
nobody does that.
Yeah.
No, they know where that came from, so they're not going to use it.
It wasn't even a finish. Might as well use it.
Yeah, I know, but it's just everyone associates that with The Rock, so they're just not going to use it. I don't know why.
And then the Primo video game guide, it's called Lang the Smackdown.
Oh, Jesus.
It's not.
Check out the archives. John mentioned that beforehand.
I don't.
Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, I got to look that up. There's no way.
Brandon Johnson, go back to Haiti. That's another.
That's another reference that The Rock said.
Check out the archives.
Please don't. I don't want to get into trouble again.
Whatever. BBC. What do you think Sid's greatest accomplishment is in the wrestling business?
Well, certainly wasn't cutting a promo. But I do think that probably his greatest accomplishment, aside from championships, is that he showed people that the quote-unquote big guy doesn't have to just be a lumbering oaf. Even if he doesn't have the charisma of a Nash, that he can take a gimmick and he can run all the way through with a gimmick. Because no matter whether he was Psycho Sid or he was Sid Justice or he was Sid Vicious, he was always Sid Crazy as Hell. So he worked that gimmick through and through, no matter what his name was. And he made you believe it, whether you liked it or you didn't. He made you believe it. We talk about how Taker was a guy who lived in his gimmick, and basically he was his gimmick 24/7. If you didn't know Sid Vicious, Sid Udy out of the ring, you would swear Sid Udy was Sid, Sid Vicious, or Psycho Sid. You would believe that was who he was because that's who he was every time you saw him.
Yep.
He very much, he protected his gimmick just as well as anybody. And was athletically gifted as well, on top of that.
What would you say his gimmick was?
His gimmick was, I would say his gimmick was essentially just a loose cannon. You just never really knew. You never really knew. He was absolutely a loose cannon. It was like even when he was Sid Justice, you just knew he was going to snap eventually. No one believed that he was there as Sid Justice and he was going to be the good guy for long. Everyone knew, oh yeah, he's going to turn. He's going to snap. He going to go. There's always that era of when is it going to happen behind him, no matter what role he played.
Yes. Platinum, what about you? What are you thinking? What's his greatest accomplishment?
I gotta say, main eventing 2 WrestleManias against 2 Hall of Famers. you got to go the first one against Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 8, and then WrestleMania 13 going against Undertaker for the title. Not too many people can say they've ever main evented one WrestleMania, let alone two, especially for the world title. So that right there, he was the
Huge
man.
deal.
He really was the man. So that for me, that was one of his greatest accomplishments, not the greatest accomplishments that he's ever had. John?
Yep.
It's funny that you just mentioned it just now. I mean, I just watched WWE 24 documentary about WrestleMania, and Bobby Lashley. It was a WrestleMania, the one in Tampa, the COVID Mania, whatever.
Yep.
And Bobby Lashley was on the phone with Sports Illustrated, and he was telling him, I'm a 2-time WWE champion. Not many people get to say that. And I was like, well, I think a lot of people can say that. But I mean, a lot of people can say they were a 1-time WWE champion. I guess you could say Jinder Mahal and Stan Stasiak or something like, or superstar Billy Graham. But 2-time WWE champion, I like the list becomes a little bit shorter, maybe in half. And Bobby Lashley's one of those guys. Psycho Sid's one of those guys. So,
Yep.
So cool. But the legacy of Psycho Sid in wrestling, like, or what he leaves behind, I'm not sure. It just proves that if you're probably the right guy at the right place at the right time, you can make a lot of money. You can main event, and you can be the promotion's top star, even if you disappear months after the show. WrestleMania in the Hoosier Dome, 1992. Main event, Hogan, Sid. Where'd Sid go after 2 months? He was gone. He went back to WCW, baby.
Yeah,
How about
they thought he wasn't gonna make no money. He didn't draw no money at that WrestleMania. It shouldn't even been the main event.
Well,
Savage and Flair should have been the main event because that was your champion right there, and they had a better storyline than Hogan.
Oh, see what happens when Cena was on top too. Same thing.
With Sid and Undertaker. I mean, allegedly, I think he had a back injury. I think he was supposed to have a match with like Bret Hart maybe at the April pay-per-view, but he had to be taken out. I think, and they had back issues. Then he came back, and I actually just watched these two for some reason. I watched it because Sid came back in the summer of '97 for like a double shot, and then he disappeared again. He never came back. So he came back for a double shot. He came back. He challenged the Undertaker, and you got to watch this episode of Raw. Actually, you have to check out this episode of Raw. I can't tell you it was around somewhere in early June, late May, but it was the one where Sid comes back and he challenges the Undertaker for a rematch for the world title that he did not get. So that was the main event of the show, Undertaker and Psycho Sid. And Sid came out, and you know what? He did one hell of a promo, spitting truth. He's like, you know what? I lost to you, Undertaker, and Undertaker, you're a man of honor and respect. And this is when he was Paul Bearer and Kane, that kind of thing.
Yep.
He's like, but if you're going to listen to this guy, then I lost all respect for you. So I'm going to have to win that title back, because if I'm losing respect for you, I need to hold the title.
Wow.
Fucking logic up the ass. It was incredible. And that show was loaded otherwise, too, okay? And by loaded, I mean for the Intercontinental title, Bob Holly challenging Owen Hart. But anyway, the next week, because I watched it backwards, so the next week on Raw, Psycho Sid faces Owen Hart in a non-title match, and then he disappears. That was his last appearance. Someone just said it on a podcast I was listening to. They're like, his last appearance was like June 9th, 1997. I'm like, I just watched those.
Wow.
All right, so to cut you off right quick, Sid challenged The Undertaker on the June 2nd, 1997 episode of Raw. 2nd. Yeah, you said June 9th, he disappeared again. So there you go, a week later. June
9th, in the Hart. Was it in Hartford, June 9th? Because it was after the King of the Ring. That was the infamous show where Shawn Michaels got his hair ripped out by the hitman Bret Hart, and Vince McMahon had to separate the two.
Wow.
Little boy toy. and they like to pose in Playgirl magazines. We all know who really likes to read those magazines, Hitman. Shut up.
Oh boy.
You know, I remember what show did we just do where you guys were like, we're really, you, Abel and Dom were like, we're Bret Hart guys, and the episode was supposed to be about we're all Shawn Michaels guys or something like that. Did we just?
I think it was a rivalry one we did. It was
Head to head.
it was a head to head, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Would you take over? Was it? I can't remember. It was like a Brett versus Shawn thing.
All right. But if we backtracked months before that, we did an episode about Shawn and Brett, and I had to get notes from my friend Eric, who eventually made an appearance on the show, because he was the only Heartbreak Kid fan I knew. Anyway, sorry, lots of things going on.
That was our Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels episode, our rivalry we did. Yeah.
Yep.
We've covered lots of topics here on the IDM pod.
And we're still going strong, baby.
So make sure to check out the archive. Check out the artificial intelligence written write-ups and see what interests you, because we've covered everything, and there's still so much more to come. Yeah, penned by DW, Darkwing Duck. So lots of stuff, but we're talking about Psycho Sid today. I don't think I really answered the question, did I? But Sid's legacy. Hey, his legacy is go back and watch those 2 episodes of Monday Night Raw on Peacock if you can find it. Holy smokes!
His legacy, he's a powerhouse. He's a 2-time world heavyweight champion in WWFE. He's a WCW champion.
Oh, yeah.
He broke his leg fighting Scott Steiner.
Very.
Well, actually, no. It was a 3-way dance, fatal 4-way, whatever, and it was tragic.
That
is
still one of the most brutal things I've ever seen.
Yep.
Yep, very tragic. He was a skyscraper with Dan Spivey. He was Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call him, you can sum it all up. Either way, he is Psycho Sid, and he will be missed. Definitely from us.
Yep.
I remember we did the watch along audio version only of Fall Brawl 1999 when he went against the icon Sting.
Yep.
And Sting was whooping that ass. Sting hit him with a Stinger Splash. And you know, when the drop down tackle, he just tripped him.
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
For clarification, Road Wild 1999.
Road Wild.
1999.
Yes.
Yes, we made a video clip out of it that got spread all across the world till it got banned. And
Still got it.
but yes, we had so much fun rewatching Sting and versus Sid. And you know, Sid has faced so many wrestlers. I'd like to know who he thought was like one of the best wrestlers. He faced everyone. He fought Chris Benoit. He fought Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Sting, Ric Flair.
The Dudley Boys. Did y'all watch that? Did y'all watch that match in ECW? Or was it Living Dangerously, whatever?
He just chokeslammed my mother.
I guess he was Spike's mystery partner, and he came out and chokeslammed both Devon and Bubba.
That was 97 or 98.
98, 99.
All right, here we go. Strat facts. Here you go. Question.
Yeah.
When WCW closed in 2001, Sid was still on that roster, wasn't he?
No.
He wasn't on the roster?
So
we talked about that with him when what was it? Him, Nash, and who's the other one? Rick Steiner. They all took out.
So as far as you've heard on this show, his career ended. His career has ended like 20 million times, according to us. But like he left the WWF after that match with Owen Hart on Monday Night Raw. He disappeared forever. It's like, well, he didn't disappear forever. He showed up in ECW.
Yep.
Because everyone took a pit stop in ECW. The American Dream, baby, Dusty Rhodes. He took a pit stop in ECW.
My man Ron Simmons, he showed up.
Scott Hall took a pit stop in ECW. Ron Simmons was early ECW, you know. Steiner Brothers were early ECW.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so Psycho Sid, away from WWF, before WCW, he was in ECW, and he was Joey Styles. He couldn't even wear tights.
Somebody said I'm not sure if I heard it on Busted Open earlier today. They said that he literally got in the locker room, took his shirt off, and the jeans he had on, just went out to the ring, whooped ass, came back, put his shirt back on, and left.
Just like W. Morrissey. But, you know, Sid came back to WCW as Macho Man's heater in the summer of 1999.
Team Madness.
And he would stick around there, and yeah, he'd be the WCW champion. You know, and he'd be part of that New Blood versus the Millionaires Club failed angle, and all the way till I think early 2001, I believe, at the January pay-per-view, as Hulk Hogan would call it, because he never ever remembered the WCW pay-per-view. Hogan would never go, you know something, and I rode wild, brother. No. At the pay-per-view, dude.
Yep.
You remember the Superdome? While I was here in the Silver Dome, while I was slamming the big Andre the Giant.
So Sid was there. Is that called Sin or Greed? That's where Johnny Ace, the producer of the match, said, "All you gotta do, man, is go to the second rope, do a big boot, and that's it." I don't know if I'm comfortable with that, Johnny. They do it all the time in Japan. It's not a big deal.
Just you saying that, does that even seem logical? Like
Yes.
I'm on the second rope. I'm just gonna go out there with my foot out there like that, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Brian.
Yeah,
it's like
let me
Danielson doing the knee on the second
different.
rope.
I'd rather do a knee than my foot extended all the way out like that. I don't know. It just.
It's like doing a bro kick on the second rope. You don't think that's something doable?
Yeah.
Sickle
No.
Sid?
I can't see it.
I can see it.
Well, I think the
Or like
the issue is the issue is that it's not something he normally does.
All right.
So, you know, because he doesn't know, it's not something he normally does. There is kind of a way you got to know how to land so that you don't hurt yourself. And clearly, he didn't know what that was.
Right, because he's never done it before.
Yeah, because he's never done it before. So it's like, first thing I would have probably said, if you're gonna do this, don't land on your foot. Go ahead and just take the seat in the ring. You know, you don't have to try to land it. Just get the foot out there and hit your ass on the ground. I mean, it was crazy how it happened. It was a freak accident, of course. But part of it is still you have to kind of know how to land that. And
Timestamp. I already know my next reel. It's not going on YouTube because it will get blocked. BDC with the comments. The video's going up there. Him in slow motion doing the damn kick or the leg out, whatever.
It doesn't matter if you're Psycho Sid or if you're a rated R superstar. Don't land on your feet like that, bro.
Yeah, when we watched that shit, like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
you never seen him do that.
You trying to do a coup de grace? What the hell are you doing? You just straight.
Coming up next in 2K24, Finn Balor and Psycho Sid.
Lord.
Oh my God, Edge. Jesus.
I thought I knew him.
His legs don't know him.
Oof, not anymore.
It sure didn't.
Oh man, guys. Well, this was a fun show of Sid.
Like your leg took a whole vacation on the way down.
Yep.
Did not come back.
Yep. Beth Phoenix will show up in AEW for his Edge's legs. Terrible.
Lordy.
Oh,
well, yeah, like I was saying, this is a fun show of Sid. And
yep.
We are definitely going to miss him. We will still acknowledge him whenever we talk about any other shows that he happen to come across. Any final thoughts for Sid?
Should have been in the Hall of Fame already.
He should.
Absolutely.
I definitely agree.
That dude make wearing black vest cool.
Stone Cold.
Black vest and black trunks.
What?
I think somebody else made that a little bit better.
What?
Lord.
Yeah, he was kind of after the fact though. He was kind of after the fact.
I mean, not. Yeah, go ahead, BC.
Yeah, Sid crawled so Stone Cold could run with that vest.
Oh no.
No.
Sid wore a vest, so Stone Cold could also wear a vest. I mean, kind of like when we've done interviews with Just Incredible and Ahmed Johnson and Scotty Riggs. You know, these guys don't match up to, you know, someone whose legacy of Sid Vicious. But on the same token, wherever you put them in your legacy, in personal favorites of all time this, all time that, you will always have these tremendous, vivid memories of these guys, these performers doing something memorable in your life, and you'll always go back to that and remember it and have a lot of fun with it. And that's what we do here on the It Doesn't Matter podcast. Reliving all the great moments through our childhood, our teenagehood, our adulthood that you may remember, you may not remember, or you may remember not the way that I remember it. So we have a lot of fun here on the show.
Yes. All right. Well, next week we had a fan on our Facebook page. His name is Daryl Calizzi. Sorry if I mess up your last name, but he shouted us out. He put our brand out there, and we let him choose next week's show. So next week's show is going to be Fall Brawl 1997 WCW War Games.
Ooh.
That's what he chose. He wanted to hear us talk about WCW 1997. So I'm going to go through the card right quick, and I don't remember this, but here we go. The opening match is for your Cruiserweight Championship. We have Eddie Guerrero taking on Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Oh.
Our next match, we have the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner, with Ted DiBiase taking on Harlem Heat with Miss Jacqueline. I don't remember Miss Jacqueline with Harlem Heat.
I miss Miss Jackie.
I'm gonna have to see that. I'm gonna have to see that.
Yes, I love Miss Jackie.
We got Alex Wright taking on the Ultimo Dragon for the World Television Championship.
Okay.
Jeff Jarrett taking on Dean Malenko. I'm assuming this might be like a 4 horsemen type match. I'm thinking right here.
Well, Jeff Jarrett wasn't a horseman.
Could be. Dean Malenko was.
Do you remember Dean Malenko being United States champion? I don't.
I don't remember. It was probably a brief run.
Vaguely.
He was, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite vaguely.
All right, so we got Wrath and Mortis with James Vandenberg taking on the Faces of Fear of Mang and the Barbarian.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like
Interesting.
Yep. We got the Giant taking on Scott Norton.
Taking on fire.
I might have to skip that one.
We got DDP and Lex Luger taking on Macho Man Randy Savage and Scott Hall with Miss Elizabeth in their corner. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
And a no disqualification match.
Oh, somebody's going to interfere from the NWO.
And your main event is a War Games match. It's Team NWO featuring Buff Bagwell, Kevin Nash, Conan, and Six taking on the 4 Horsemen of Chris Benoit, Kurt Hennig, Ric Flair, and Steve Mongo McMichael.
Hall of Famer Mongo McMichael.
Yes.
Wow.
That's our show for next week. Daryl, we appreciate you for, putting our brand out there.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
We're close to 200 subscribers. We'll get there real soon. Shots for everybody from Strapfax.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
No. John,
Yes.
John's no.
Who likes grapefruit juice?
Okay, Kevin Nash. That's what he did at Scott Hall. That's what he did at his party. He didn't even show up to in Dallas.
Well, Big
Scott Hall
Daddy
passed away.
is cool.
He's
Yeah,
not
he
Sid
is.
cool.
Nah.
Sid's a lot cooler than.
Hey, wait a
Kevin
minute.
Nash.
Diesel's a one-time WWF champion.
Who's the man? Sid's the man.
There you go. There you go.
Oh man. So
Oh,
yeah, we're
man.
gonna close it out with that.
I'm gonna close it out right quick, and here we go. I am the Notorious One. I am Dom. I'm here with my boy Strat Facts. I'm here with Poppy Platino. I'm here with BDC. But before we go, I have one more Sid clip for you, and here we go right now.
Oh my! What happened to my car? Go Goldberg! We will see you next week. Boom. Boom.